Edmonton, Alberta. A proud city with a wild heart. It has played stage to some of sport's greatest stories. And some argue that the seed of triathlon in Canada was planted firmly in Edmonton soil some 20 years ago. On the 23rd and 24th of July, history will be made again as the PTO launches the first stage of the 2022 PTO Tour, and triathlon comes home to Edmonton. And with the spectacle come the biggest names in the sport.
Over this distance.
Has done it.
I have never seen an athlete that can push their limits like
The new, the hungry.
It's getting serious.
Daniel Beckergaard closing the gap quickly. Get ready.
The seasoned.
Absolutely fascinating, guys.
The dangerous.
By the impossible. Really pushing that limit. You got it! Here we go. Keep the pace high all day long.
And those that threaten to change the game forever. The world's ultimate athletes will pit themselves against each other in a new distance that unites endurance athletes of all disciplines. Amongst those racing are Canada's own Lionel Sanders and Paula Findlay, looking to upset any competitors, aiming to steal the win in Edmonton. While Sanders is revered for his no-limits attitude,
I'd love to come racing and go head-to-head, side by side.
some doubt his potential.
Bunch of bullshit comes out that I'm a effing coward.
And question who or what he's really racing when pushing himself beyond the human limit.
Put these to bed in 2 seconds. You can trust me on that.
Better fucking go, Lionel!
He is absolutely rolling through a pack of men.
When that gun goes, this is life and death. I don't want any friendship with you whatsoever.
You have guys like Lionel Sanders saying, look, I'm gonna either beat Jan or go home on a stretcher.
Findlay, an unpredictable hometown hero,
I've done this 100 times and I'll do 100 more.
depending on the balance of body and mind.
There's a definite hometown advantage.
Come race day, she can either decimate the field
There's a reason a lot of good triathletes came out of the city. I've proven to myself in Daytona.
or fall tragically short.
It's changed the game in triathlon a lot. Well, it's a huge race. I think no matter where the race would be, everyone's going to be trying to win it. You're measuring yourself against the absolute best in the world. Nobody's unbeatable. Impossible to predict. It's an exciting opportunity. But I'm still one of the best in the world representing.
On the 23rd and 24th of July, at the PTO Edmonton Open, all questions will be answered.
Good morning.
You kept him outside all night?
No, I just went out to the bathroom.
Does the dishes.
Paula makes a fantastic meal the night before I do the dishes.
I usually wake up around 6 because of the sun coming up early.
Okay.
We don't set an alarm, Eric and I. We think that it's good just to get as much sleep as you need, and we have all day to train, so there's no need to get up at 5 and go swimming or anything. Same breakfast every day, peanut butter and toast. 2 pieces of toast. This is the kind I like. With peanut butter. That's it. Actually, and coffee. Eric makes me coffee. Not just any coffee, though. The most beautiful cappuccino that you'll ever see. Wow.
As a person, Paula is super kind, sometimes overly generous, I would say. She's very, very serious about a lot of things that she wants to do just a certain way, and I think that really plays really well into her as an athlete. She's very methodical about training and preparation.
I'll start my ride whenever you're done your run. There's no rush because Heather's not coming now. So even if we start at 9:30 or 10 or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Usually when I start training, I'm like, wow, I should have done like some foam rolling or some stretching before, but that's Instagram. Reality, no, you don't do that. In the background of all this, Flynn's bringing us ducks, long dogs to throw because he's ready for the day, very excited for his first activity. Load up. So the dog park is about a kilometer away, but for maximum efficiency, we drive over there. He was in Oceanside on the course, which I liked. It was so funny. I don't think he even recognized me while I was racing.
Good boy. Leave it.
But he's my emotional support animal, for real. I like having him around, makes it feel more normal, you know? It's like everyday life, which I think is good around a race sometimes, just like helps you chill a bit. Hi. Hi. Okay, so you designed the course, which is kind of a unique situation since I will be racing in Edmonton, and to have like a close family member so involved with the race, I feel like is a bit of an advantage. So what would be cool is if you could walk me through the course a little bit.
She was challenging. She was very headstrong. She knew what she wanted. Very hard to discipline, and ran the family, really. She did.
Bloody-minded.
Yes, there you go.
The goal was to try to showcase Edmonton.
She's as competitive as she ever was, still. By far the most competitive child.
I've seen Paula's stubbornness and fieriness. That side of Paula I've got to know quite well over the years, so I know she's a very driven young lady.
Does it go across High Level Bridge? Are we coming out of the water each lap? They probably would have hoped that I would be a doctor by now, with maybe husband and kids and living in Edmonton, which is a completely different path.
People threw that at her as something that she wanted to do. You're going to be a doctor. By the time she got to university, she didn't love school anymore.
No, I think she loves competing.
She would have been 18. She's built different. I love seeing that side of her, willing to dig deep and gut it out. Then you could see her really shine through when she was on the track.
So when I was younger, I watched the World Cup in Edmonton at Horlock Park in the same venue. And when I was watching people like Simon Whitfield and Siri Lindley, that kind of inspired me to get into the sport ultimately. So I think it's really cool that the course kind of replicates that same thing now, where they go up Groat Road, and we used to stand right outside our house and watch them do the U-turn at the top of Groat Road.
As an 11-year-old girl, she watched Canadian triathlete superstars Simon Whitfield and Siri Lindley compete in her hometown. Little did she know how significant and intertwined their journeys would become.
So I remember watching as an 11-year-old the World Cup race with Siri Lindley and Simon Whitfield, and this was before I was even a swimmer, even in the sport at all. I remember when Simon Whitfield won here in 2001, maybe. He was on the huge front page of the paper, and I got his autograph on the front page of the paper and hung it in my bedroom.
It wouldn't be long after that she would begin to compete. And with those early years came a rare and almost unprecedented string of successes.
This is the moment. It's the cold, it's the flames, it's the
In the past, I've done really well coming up under the radar.
Up on the toes, she is really starting to move away right now. Paula Findlay, her first ever World Championship Series race. She looks over her shoulder. She is gonna steal this race.
And I don't know how I did it.
Canada's Paula Findlay, an unbelievable run. If she goes.
I don't think even back in 2011 that she really understood how good she was and how big of a deal it was to just go like boom, 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 win WTS races.
Anyone stop Paula Findlay?
It's a state that you only get into a handful of times in your career, I think, when you're that prepared and that fit and fast.
Findlay wins in London.
When she won her first WTS race in London, I just couldn't believe it.
It was pretty magical.
I remember really vividly listening to everyone's breathing around me and thinking that I was more in control than them. I don't know if that was the truth or not. I was super fit and super fast.
Quickly, it is down to just a small group of 5.
Yeah, I'm running with 5 people, but I think I'm not working as hard as them.
When she got in the news, she was adored.
Wow, that was a really hard race. Amazing, best swim of my life.
That just kind of catapulted me to being a little bit in the spotlight and set me up for a good string of success.
I had to buy a new pair of bike shoes, and a young lady saw my name and she, "Are you Paula's dad?" I said, "I love Paula." Never met her.
She won 3 or 4 WTSs all in a row. Was kind of in the conversation for being Olympic champion and world champion.
When you're at the top, you're highly under a microscope.
You know, there was a lot of winning.
When you're at the top, it's impossible to stay at the top.
It wasn't going to last forever.
What an incredible day for Canada. Paula Findlay, 21 years of age, and she wins here.
Max, what are you gonna
Is it like a
beer.
It's like a hybrid.
Care what kind?
The Jasper. Yeah, dig in, Susan. No, it was going to be a roller coaster ride, and it was.
I don't know, it's hard to talk about like the Olympics and just things that happened so long ago, especially emotional things like that. I honestly don't even remember some of the facts and details from it as much as they might.
We were in the stands. It was a beautiful day. We had a huge army of fans that had come from here to watch her. It was really cool that they came.
We knew London, she was dealing with some injuries. We weren't sure about her form, but it was fantastic to see her participating, but it was also hard to watch.
Everybody thought she was going to win. Everybody. When you walked into the Canada House, there was a picture of her that was, I don't know, it was bigger than this table on the wall.
She had a great record leading up to the games. Again, I had a premonition, but didn't know how bad things were.
A lot of the time, I mean, throughout my life, I have silenced the bad kind of injury where no, it's not good, but you're in a race, you're doing decently, you want to finish, but you know it's going to make you worse.
She, for the longest time, wouldn't tell me if she was hurt or not well.
You'd sense it?
Yes, I could sense it, but she wouldn't call and say, you know, things aren't great. And then it's just waiting for the phone call at the end of the race.
The thing about, like, if you go out and you race 12 times a year, you're constantly flirting with disaster of injury.
It was tough. It was just really tough.
And then during the race, the wheels fell off. She almost didn't finish that race. I mean, she stopped dead last. And she was, you know, just crying as she passed the stand and then stopped.
She looked at me.
Desperate.
Yeah.
You know, it was really, it was a heartbreaker. The headlines after were no iron, no gold. She was quite anemic during the race, unbeknownst to everyone.
I think my disappointment in 2012 was so soon after having really good success in 2011. So there was only 10 months separating when I was ranked first in the world, and then I got injured and went and had the Olympics. It was a disaster. But in my mind, I was still the athlete that I was in 2011. So it wasn't like 10 years had passed and I was a different person. I was still, I believed, had the ability to return to be the best in the world. Looking back, it affected me more than I thought it did at the time, but the success I had had was so fresh in my mind, and I felt like the same person. So it wasn't like I had to rebuild myself or anything. That was what I was thinking anyway.
When you stress your body that hard, it takes several years of just resting and taking a step back. And in the meantime, everybody's wondering and asking where you are.
Findlay spent almost a decade with inconsistent results. Working her way back to elite-level competition at the PTO 2020 Championship in Daytona, all eyes were on her.
The best women triathletes in the world.
I feel like people think I could always be a threat if I'm fit and healthy, but the chances of me being fit and healthy are very low.
She looks calm, she looks confident. There's some really strong women chasing.
The cannon fired, and now jockeying for position.
It was such a new kind of distance to me. I hadn't raced in over a year.
Findlay continuing to look so strong.
It was such an emotional, uncertain time.
It was just a different feeling of not having the confidence or the experience.
Paula Findlay first to put the shoes on.
I wasn't sure I could hold the pace I was running for the whole time.
It's just taking its toll.
It was like kind of the fear of blowing up.
Now she takes the lead.
What an incredible race.
Paula Findlay for Canada, the 2020 PTO champion.
It was cool that I was that far ahead in a race with all the best people in it.
Having gone through all those years of not having a really big result, that was, I think if you asked her, that'd probably be one of the, if not the most meaningful win of her career.
I got a funny little saying sent to me from Eric that he found. It was sort of an engraving on a little plaque, and it said, "She's not delicate like a flower, she's delicate like a bomb." She knows she's just can flip and be a bomb.
I think what sets her apart from the rest of the women's field is her past. She has had this crazy experience, which no one else has had, where she came out in her first couple of years of doing the sport and was instantly on the world stage in the conversation for being world champion, for being Olympic champion, and then basically just had it all ripped away. And has finally worked back on the top step of the world stage.
Paula Findlay, well, we've all seen what she can do. When she's on, it's very, very hard to stop her. She can find that consistency and find the shape for the day.
What do I know about Paula Findlay? Very well-rounded athlete. One of the best to do it across all distances. She's not intimidated anyway, I can tell you that for certain.
Basically, at any race, I can say I've beat all of these people at least once. Yeah, I definitely assess the people I'm racing against and think about races where I've raced them before.
Other athletes, people I have heard, have called her unpredictable and dangerous.
I would imagine that would create a certain amount of fear in a competitor.
The times when she is just on another level like Daytona is when she's had 3 or 4 months of solid running. That's all it takes. With her, the key is just getting to the important start lines, healthy, happy, and fit.
You know, it's a lot of fun when you're fit and injury-free, but it's heartbreaking when she gets hurt and out of commission for a while.
Even when the gun goes off, I'm still a little bit nervous. At that point, you're just thinking about what's happening. The nerves change as soon as the race starts, for sure.
The pressure for her is that she has to make it to the start line. She can't get injured because we've played that game a few times, and she's got to get there.
A lot of people at the top are. The second that winning seems like definitely not going to happen, and second is on lock, it's very easy to slip to fifth. Because it's a home race, because so many of the people that she grew up with still live in Edmonton, and they have all been on this emotional roller coaster with her.
Of course she would love to win it at hometown.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
If I'm really fit and feeling good, I can beat any of them. I mean, I'm from Edmonton, so that adds a little bit more level of pressure. Lionel can take some of the pressure off me because he's Canadian too.
Over 2,000 miles directly south, training at altitude, is Lionel Sanders.
Now just cooling down for a few minutes to make it 3 hours. The 2 meters are reading the kicker 270, 275, and the Asioma's 276. So it just dropped 1 watt, so this will drop soon too. They're pretty well bang on, which is good. Can have confidence in the data. So now just a little quick bite to eat, and then we'll head to the gym for an equally, if not harder, run workout.
I think Canada has done very well, done well above their size in triathlon, feed off of the energy of everyone out there and bring home the first title to Canada.
One of the sport's most revered athletes, who still believes his best years in triathlon are ahead of him.
It's not a secret anymore, but it is a Canadian tradition, yes.
Maple syrup?
Yeah.
So like an hour recovery just to have a quick bite to eat, hydrate a little bit, and then we'll head to the gym and we'll do my biggest run workout of the year. And we have, fortunately, a round of golf on the schedule tomorrow and pay-per-view tonight, UFC fights for the light heavyweight championship. So we got a lot of motivation to get through it good so that we can enjoy the rest of the time.
Bike workouts. 1 hour and 90 minutes. Growing up in a small town of 3,000 people with nothing to do, the only thing to do is to do activities outside. But then I got into track and field very early on, and I got to high school. It was like expected that I would be a runner. And so, you know, because I was kind of falling out of running and that type of a sport, I just kind of replaced it with partying progressively more, and so then I went down that pathway for a few years.
Almost losing himself to addiction in his earlier years would have robbed the sport of one of PTO's brightest lights.
You know, I had just done that enough, and I was losing my sanity a bit. The only thing that was familiar to me that I felt confident and competent at was running. Both my mom and dad's side, very musical. Everyone played instruments, jammed, and so I had, you know, stack, probably 6 or 7 electrics, 3 or 4 acoustics. And, you know, as a lot of people know, it's not the cheapest sport to get into, not a great sport to get into if you don't have any money. I had to liquidate some of that stuff. You know, you never forget things that you feel slighted by, but a friend of mine didn't know I was still there and said something along the lines on the phone. I was in the bedroom with the door closed, probably having a nap. And he said, oh, that Lionel, he's got to get a real job. He's got to get his life together. And I was, you know, I was starting to get the seeds planted that, hey, this triathlon thing's pretty cool, and I think I might want to actually try and do this as a real gig. From an outsider looking in, you know, triathlon, how can you make money doing triathlon? That's not a real job. When someone says that about you, when you're starting to devote yourself to something, you know, it's offensive. And so I was deeply offended. I opened the door and I said, F you, and then I closed the door. For a while there, absolutely, it was a motivation to prove the doubters wrong and to turn this into a real profession. Fit is everything, in my opinion. You need to find a bike that fits you well. That is your first task. How you doing? I just got the bike set up. I was about to send you a picture of it.
I think as soon as PTO put the Opens on the schedule, Lionel made it a point to put them on his as well. The competition is, I mean, insane. He feels that altitude is, you know, the final thing, not holding him back, but, you know, the final piece to the puzzle.
It is a pretty technical, hilly course. Us kind of guys who coming from behind, having to do damage on the bike and then rely on guys destroying their legs due to the TT position and stuff. Unfortunately, we're not going to have a lot of that advantage in our direction. So it's going to be a tough one for us to do well. We picked the windiest day ever, literally, to ride the race setup.
I guess what surprises me most about Lionel as an athlete is just when, you know, we as his family and friends are feeling a little bit down if he's having a bad race or, you know, coming from behind and you think it might be over for him, he finds another gear, uncovers something within himself that we don't even know is there. And I think that's what his competitors fear the most in him when they get in a race with him, is just his willingness to suffer in any race.
Different feel for sure, the bar. I've been spending the last 10 years honing this craft. Am I the most talented guy? Undoubtedly no. Do I have a shot due to my work ethic and my ability to push myself? Undoubtedly yes.
Look, the one thing I know about Lionel Sanders is you never, ever count him out. I have never seen an athlete that can push their limits like Lionel Sanders. Not in short course, not in long course. He is an absolute animal.
I don't feel any pressure. I feel like nothing really is going to faze me at this stage. Everyone's been there to see it. My whole life has been out for the last 10 years in the public eye for the most part, my successes and failures. So nothing phases me anymore. I mean, I've done it all for the most part.
Lionel is, well, he at least portrays himself as someone who has no weaknesses mentally. He will push all the way to the end no matter what. And he's done a really good job of creating that image and creating fear in all his competitors, because everyone believes that he will sooner die than give up on the race course.
Am I one of the greatest in the sport? Absolutely not. I believe I'm one of the best at pushing myself in the sport. In terms of overall ability, I am very far off the greatest.
I would say that experience has motivated most of my training to do that again. And every time I race him, I can't do it. Every time I get better in all 3 disciplines.
So my first impression of Lionel Sanders was 2014 World Champ 70.3 in Mont Tremblant. He was the guy who everybody was talking about. His past was very much at the forefront of everybody's mind. He was just this beast of a guy who rode up on a squeaking bike. Once he had his feet on land, he was the quickest guy there.
That moment is different for everyone, right? When you finally submit, realize that you need other people. You're part of a social sphere, and you need the help of others and the wisdom of others to achieve what you want to achieve, to be who you want to be. You can't do it alone.
He is making progress, and I feel like of late he's probably made the biggest progress in finally allowing somebody else into his professional life, like really allowing that person in.
I just want him to be able to unlock his full potential as an athlete. I think we're close. I think we're approaching the years now where you're going to see the best version of him. You know, ever since he started working with McCall, I think we've seen an upward trajectory.
I'm a Canadian living in America who's on Team Norway. I don't know how I got on into this situation. The training has changed in that I have definitely become more accountable, that I'm thinking about what's going on under the hood, like the more of the scientific underpinning, the physiological underpinning of the training I'm doing and how it affects what happens during a race. And that's something that I was deeply ignorant of. Training creates your racing. And I was sort of pushing my system into probably the wrong direction for the type of racing that I want to excel at. And Coach McCall has helped me to correct that.
You know, in terms of everything, he's somebody that inspires me on a daily level, on a daily basis, to push harder and work into myself into a better shape. And I seem to do the same for him.
He's wearing his effort on his sleeve, looking to his wife right now to get splits.
Come on, babe!
He is absolutely rolling through a pack of men.
I think Lionel is at a stage where he's always going to be a factor. Having that sort of magnitude of an event at home is always unique, and I truly wish him all the best for it.
There's always a target on Lionel's back. He's got all the attention. Everybody knows Lionel. He wins a lot. I mean, he barely loses a 70.3 or a middle distance race. So a lot of people are going to be watching him, and he's used to that. So I'll expect him to come out firing on all cylinders like he always does.
For better or worse, money attracts people, right? We need to eat. We need to provide for our families. And so the PTO is putting up, you know, actual amounts of money that we can survive off of. Literally, I'm going to a race where I've already spent more on my flights than first prize. So I'm going to lose money undoubtedly. How's that a profession? How does that attract top-tier talent? It doesn't, and it won't, and it never will. On the other hand, we're going to start to go to races where the top tier is at. And this is what's going to push the sport to a new level. And, you know, these are the wins that are going to be the most meaningful, not some win. I've won the North American Championship, I think, 70.3, at least 2 or 3 times. And Keenlay was there. That's the only thing that made that race meaningful, beating Keenlay, having a good battle with Keenlay. Otherwise, being a North American champ, completely irrelevant. Absolutely, it's getting harder. Every single year I get better and better and better. My swim gets better. The deficit stays the same. Everything's getting better. It's great. It's fun. I mean, knowing everything that's gone into it, how much work and time and effort and dedication and how good these people are who you're racing. Once again, it always goes back to what makes something meaningful. The title or the people? It's the people, you know what I mean? We could go to some race you've never heard of, no one's ever heard of, no one's ever been to, but if Jan and Gustav, Patrick, and Christian are there and you get a W over them, that's all that matters. The title of the race is of no relevance. It's who's there. And that's the beauty of these events.
Now the demons that were once upon his shoulders are hunted without mercy. Every workout, every competition, every day.
Undoubtedly, my best is still to come. I think 3 years from now, I will achieve my peak in triathlon.
Now an evolved athlete.
Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who thinks I know everything. doesn't like to be told what to do, and I had to do my own thing. Lots of people told me this and that, and had I just listened to them, I'd be so much further ahead now. But do I have regrets that I didn't listen? No, because here I am now and doing what I love. You know, I'm part of the game now.
He is preparing to bring the hammer down among the elites in Edmonton.
The golden era is coming. Very good, very, very well-rounded athletes who are crazy hard workers, who are mentally tough, who can handle large amounts of volume, et cetera, are coming to fruition. Think of how much more meaningful it'll be to get a victory on one of these guys.
The biggest threat is Gustav, I don't know, Lionel maybe?
He has one podium at a world championship, so he wins races, but he wins the less important races.
Fuck you, buddy, your time's coming. There's no more time to mess around. And if there was ever a time for you to excel and to upset this whole thing, it's now, the next couple of years. So let's do it.
There's always a target on Lionel's back.
Lionel Sanders told us that he's been working on his swim. He was almost embarrassed at what happened at Daytona.
He really is a lion keeper.
When you let up, I will find you. I take pride in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Lionel Sanders from Canada.
I'm feeling very excited. And I'm excited to just get back to that level of racing and to show the world that I can have a good all-around race and show that I am a triathlete and that I can do all three sports competently.
The best way I could represent Canada is to win. I think Canadians are very proud to be Canadian, me included and Lionel included, and anytime you get to race in your home country, it's really special, let alone my home city. I always wear like a maple leaf jersey with pride.
I think it's great that we're able to get back to having all the best guys come together. The terrain is hard, challenging, but it's also beautiful. And people are really embrace the race and having us in town. You feel very welcomed. I've missed that, I think. I've missed just everyone on the day. And so, you know, for me, I just have to frame it in such a way that just go out there and show what you're capable of. Because what I'm capable of, I am certain that I can go toe-to-toe with the best guys in the world.
The mindset I hope to have in this race in July is confidence. That's the #1 thing for me. I know my physical ability is just as good as anyone else on the start list, but a lot of this sport comes down to who has the best mental game on the day. And I think as I race more in the season and have success, I gain more confidence knowing I can compete with the best and be competitive in big races like this.
Who has the goods to win the title? I mean, I do believe there are a fair amount of guys. The Norwegians obviously are, it will take a heroic performance, I think, for just about anyone on the start line to really go toe-to-toe with them. They are physiologically, I believe, probably a notch ahead of just about everyone on the start line. They're doing workouts that most of us are doing closer to sea level. They're able to execute them at 8,000 feet. Gustav and Christian are the ones that we will have to try and beat because they are the best guys, I would say, all around on the start line.
You know, 15 years into being a triathlete, I've had almost every experience you could imagine and learned from each of them. I'd say I'm just a lot more mature of an athlete now. I've done a lot. I've had success. I've had really rough years at a time and injury, but I'm still out here, one of the best in the world, representing the city and the country, and yeah, still being competitive. I personally don't think I have to prove anything. I have been in the sport so long. I've put myself in the best position I can.
My main competitors are all of the people on the start line. What do you have? No excuses on the other side. Show us what you have, show us where you stand. Today's the day.
Why is the PTO Canadian Championship such a historic event and will be for quite some time to come? It's the first of the PTO races. It's worth $1 million, which to me still is incredible. And the field that we have assembled is out of this world. And honestly, each time I go to Instagram and I look at a new post from PTO, I'm looking to see, all right, who's the next wild card on the list?
To see not only the events evolve, but also the athletes evolve, just to the level at which they're racing and the number of people that are able to race at the front, head to head.
Emma Pallant.
The word comes to mind is imposing. She imposes herself on it.
Phenomenal runner. I'd go as far as saying the best runner on the start line in Edmonton.
I have to imagine everyone else, every competitor knows where she is at all times. Laura Phillip.
She's the quiet achiever. So you know that she's always going to be there. She's almost stealth-like. You don't hear a lot. She's a completely different athlete to a lot of the other females that are racing.
Very clinical. She's precise in her preparation. She comes fully prepared, quiet and clinical. Gustav Eden.
Smiling assassin. That's what he is. Gustav Eden, the smiling assassin.
I like the smiling assassin, but I think very calculated, very tactical, the heir apparent.
Christian Blumenfeld. I honestly don't know another athlete like him. He's incredible, and I think his greatest talent is that there is no athlete out there that likes to win as much as he does. It's do or die with Christian, and he'll lay it all on the line and give himself every opportunity to cross that finish line in first place.
It's like the Norse god.
Daniel Vakegaard.
Class athlete. Daniel Vakegaard is a class athlete.
2 words, attitude and confidence. That's what gets him across the line in first place. I think he has this ability to scare his competitors before the gun even goes off.
Again, just when you thought our sport had evolved, it continues to evolve. You used to see a few races with the top competitors, and then you'd see a smattering of races that had this kind of, you wish that these two people were racing on the same weekend. Now they're all racing on the same weekend. They're racing at the biggest events, and it's just great to see. It's great to see our sport evolve.
And so, whilst fortune may favour the Canadian natives, success is far from guaranteed. The PTO Canadian Open is fraught with challenges. On the 23rd and 24th of July, the sports elite will descend upon Edmonton. All with ambitions of making a statement at this historical event.